Aloha and welcome to Action Island. I am Gilles Gallant. I'm joined today by Nick Giffen, Sean Koerner, and Grant Neiffer. And the four of us, we're going to build a same game parlay for Thursday night football. And we've got a doozy of a game. We've got the 49ers and the Rams, or I guess, the shell of the 49ers, given all the injuries. But it is still Thursday night football. So here's what we do. Four of us, we're going to give our two favorite bets for the game. Then we're going to vote on those picks and we're going to be able to decide which parlay leg will stay and which goes. By the end of the show, we should have a four-leg same game parlay for you. But as we give out these picks, I want to remind anybody who's watching on YouTube that we'll be dropping links in the YouTube chat, and you could take that. You can click that link. It's a quick slip directly to the sports book that will get you right there. So if you want to tail, because some of these lines, they may move fast. We want to make sure that you get the best price and the best number. So use those links and that'll take you right there if you want to tail. So Grant, we talked a little bit about this game off air about what way we want to proceed, especially on the 49ers side. And what did you end up coming up with?
So I kind of went all in on one player, and that guy is Kendrick Bourne. First bet is going to be Kendrick Bourne to score TD plus
Mm.
350, and these odds seem a little bit too high. I mean, obviously we know no Pearsall, no Jennings, no Purdy. This game and this lineup offense is kind of a little bit of a guessing game here, but Bourne is by far the most likely beneficiary outside of CMC. Bourne has a past with Mac Jones. He played with him over in New England. He's played with him a few games already this season. He played two of them, 32 receiving yards and 38 receiving yards in those games. One of those games had both Jennings and Pearsall, and the other one had, I think, just Pearsall. So he hasn't been the go-to wide receiver. This week, he's going to be the go-to wide receiver. Robinson has not really had much time with Mac Jones. Obviously, a short week. He didn't play the first 3 weeks in practice. So Jones really only has taken first team reps with him a couple of days. That's it. That's it. Outside of that, it's been mostly Bourne. Bourne he knows far too well. And Bourne also, when he was playing over in New England, had 10 touchdowns in 41 games with Mac Jones, which isn't a ton, but that often spread the ball all over the place. San Francisco, they're going to try and get the ball into Bourne's hand a little bit. Obviously, he's not as good as Pearsall or Jennings, but he's still a solid wide receiver, and someone's got to score here. And who knows if McCaffrey is going to be limited on short rest here. So I'm going with that for the first bet. And the second one
Okay.
is actually him for over 40 receiving yards, or over 39 and a half, rather. And this bet just seems a little bit too low. Like I said, he had 32 and 38 receiving yards in his two games with Mac Jones as the starter. And both those games, he was the second, third, or fourth option. This game, outside of McCaffrey, he's probably going to be the first option here. So 39 and a half in a mediocre matchup seems a bit too low to me. And I don't even care about hitting the 50 plus, 60 plus, 70 plus, all the way up to 90 plus. I mean, we've seen big games come out of random wide receivers in the San Francisco offense all the time over the years when guys are injured. And there's been a lot of guys that are injured. So Jennings was a guy that is essentially in Bourne's position. In the first game, he was kind of the de facto wide receiver when both Samuel and Ayuk were down. I think it was last year. He just went on absolutely massive tear in a huge game with two TDs. So I will not be surprised to see Bourne get in that scenario in this spot today.
Yeah, and I think Grant too. It's pretty wild when you look past Christian McCaffrey. The touchdown odds just spike completely for every single 49ers player. Like I'm pretty sure outside of McCaffrey, every guy is plus 300 or higher. So a lot of value on the 49ers side if we think we can keep it close. And since you laid it out the case, Kendrick Bourne is in line for wide receiver one duty in this spot. So, all right, guys, we got to take a vote. Are we going to take Kendrick Bourne to score an anytime touchdown, or are we going to take him to go for 40 plus receiving yards? So, Nick, Sean, let's take a vote. All right, Nick, Sean, which way do we go? I went with the touchdown. You know me, I love the touchdown prop, so that's probably the way I was going to go with 39 and a half yards. Okay, well, we still all agree that Kendrick Bourne should be involved from a passing standpoint in this game. If you do like the touchdown, again, the link is in the YouTube chat. You can grab that link, go directly to the sports book, and bet Kendrick Bourne for an anytime touchdown at plus 350. But for the parlay, we are going to take over 39 and a half receiving yards for Kendrick Bourne. So now, Sean, you're up, man. All right, so you've got two props that you like. What are you looking at for this game?
So first up, let's go with Mac Jones under 5.5 rushing yards. So Mac has only scrambled once this season on 86 dropbacks. That's a 1.2% scramble rate, tied with Joe Flacco. So he is definitely in Mall Santa territory right now. And we have to remember he's replacing Brock Purdy, who's out tonight. But Mac Jones himself is coming back from a knee injury. He had a PCL sprain. Apparently, he's going to be wearing like a big knee brace tonight. So that's, going to complete the full Mall Santa wardrobe, having the big giant knee brace on his leg tonight. So it's hard to imagine him wanting to scramble too much tonight, if at all. And they're probably not going to design any runs for him aside from, QB sneaks or kneel downs. And yeah, he's cleared this once. The first game, he did have a nice scramble for 13 yards. He used to have, that rushing upside, but I think with this knee injury and the short week, I don't think he's going to be scrambling much. So give me the under 5.5 rushing yards for him. And for the other one, let's go with Demarcus Robinson, his longest reception over 16 and a half yards. I'm already on Mac Jones over 32 and a half pass attempts for a handful of reasons. He should have a high drop back rate tonight. And obviously, I don't think he's going to be scrambling at all. So that's just going to lead to more pass attempts. And we know this 49ers wide receiver room is depleted right now. So D-Rob should be out there a ton. And he's typically going to see targets, downfield anyways. So I think this is the market to kind of invest in him. This is a revenge game for him. Um, he could easily have what he had last week, one catch for 20 yards and nothing else. And then you're going to lose on the under on the receptions and receiving yards, but hit this. So I think this is the market to invest in. And plus, the Rams kicker, Josh Carty, has essentially perfected the new
Hmm.
kickoff rule. Teams are just starting on the 22-yard line, which is the shortest average field position on his kickoff. So that's just going to have a longer field for the Niners every time, which is perfect for a longest reception market. So a lot of different paths here for D-Rob for his longest catch to go over 16 and a half yards.
Revenge game, Mall Santa. We got it all for Sean's props right now. I love it. All right. So, Nick, Sean, we got to take a vote here. Are we going to take Mac Jones to go full Mall Santa under 5.5 rushing yards? Or are we going to take Demarcus Robinson to get revenge on his old team and have the longest reception over 16 and a half yards? So, let's take a vote. All right, Grant, Nick, which way do we vote? I voted for revenge. I think revenge is a stronger feeling here. I don't know. All right, we all went with revenge. Okay. Even though we all probably agree that Mac Jones is not a rushing threat very much, I think we all just like the Demarcus Robinson reception prop here. So that is going to be the second leg of the four-leg parlay. So we're going to take over on receiving yards for Kendrick Bourne, and we're going to take longest reception over 16 and a half yards for Demarcus Robinson. So those are the first two legs of the same game parlay. We're going to get to Nick here in a second, but first up, if you want access to all of Action Pro projections, make sure to sign up for an annual subscription to Action Pro. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Koerner and other members of the Action Analytics team, along with their anytime touchdown projections. You also get access to our best spread, money line, and total bets, along with real ticket and money percentages. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today and use code ISLAND20 at sign up. One more time, that's ISLAND20 at sign up for $20 off. All right, Nick, you're up, man. And what are we looking at here? Because when we talked off air, we were talking about luck rankings, of whether or not this played a part and whether or not we were looking at that. What were you going to do with this game, and do the luck rankings apply?
Yeah, this is not a luck rankings game. Nothing here for side or total meets our thresholds, but I'm still going with a side or total, and I'm going to take over 43 and a half points. I think that's the best line out there right now. I know there's some 44s. Try to get a 43 if you can, because 44 is a very key number. But San Francisco with Mac Jones has been better than we think. Now, Grant kind of mentioned it. One game did have Jawan Jennings and Pearsall, but the second game versus Arizona did not have Jawan Jennings. But if we look, they put up 26 points versus the New Orleans Saints. All right, whatever. But they only put up 16 versus Arizona. But San Francisco failed to convert a third and fourth and goal from the one. That's usually a touchdown. They settled for other multiple short field goals, which sometimes will turn into touchdowns. And they had an interception at the Arizona 21. So our expected score from that game was 26.6 points, and they only scored 16. So they came in 10, more than 10 points under expectation there. And like I said, there was no Juwan Jennings in that second game that Mac Jones started versus Arizona. On the Rams side of the ball, they should be able to move this ball almost at will. The 49ers D is mid, as the kids like to say. They were 32nd in net defensive spending in the offseason, and it really shows. They have absolutely regressed as a defense, and they're just kind of a mid-pack defense right now. When I look at schedule adjusted expected scores and compare them to league average, they're right at league average. So, the Rams are over 27 expected points per game, and San Francisco right at league average. So I don't see any reason the Rams couldn't score around 27 points or so in this game. And I do think, again, the 49ers offense is a little underrated here with Mac Jones. Also this year, I should say since the start of last year, the Rams are number 3 in pace in terms of seconds per snap, when up by a touchdown or more in the second half. And they're number 1 this year for teams with at least 20 snaps. I think the Jets have like 1 snap or something, and they were at like 5 seconds per play. So that doesn't really count. But if you remove that, they're number 1 this year for teams with at least 20 snaps in this scenario in terms of pace. So, the most likely outcome with Rams being 8.5-point favorites is that, and the Rams would still push some tempo here.
All right. Mac Jones, not as bad as we think. I think that's a key point that we should take away from that. Plus, also, I agree with you on the Rams side of things. I think defensively, the Niners aren't really where they are or where they should be. And I think the Rams, like you said, should be able to move the ball pretty easily. So over 43.5 is the first pick from Nick. Now, Nick, you have another pick that kind of correlates to what you're looking at here.
Yeah, I do. And that is my arch nemesis from last week, Blake Corum. I was on Kyron a couple TDs there for last week's Rams game. But I'm going to take Blake Corum over 31.5 rushing yards. I think you can get that still at a minus 115. Over 32.5 is totally fine. If we look at weeks 2 through 4, Corum has been used on 27.72, so the nice little palindrome of 27 there, my favorite number, percent of snaps, and he has a run on nearly 40% of those snaps. And in a spot where there's such heavy favorites, I would project him to have a run on north of 40% of those snaps. And again, Los Angeles, when they're up by 7 or more in the second half, not only do they push pace, but they've also been running at a really high rate, 4th highest rush rate with a 7+ point lead in the second half so far this year. So, in that case, not only will we project him for more runs in terms of percentage of snaps, but also just a higher snap rate. Like, there's no reason he might not hit something like a 33% snap rate and 50% carries per snap. And if that happens, that would put him at around 10.5 carries of the ball instead of the 7 we're projecting as kind of a conservative projection for Blake Corum. Also, the matchup's really good. Corum runs to the outside a lot more than Kyron Williams does, and Los Angeles designs more zone concept runs for him than they do for Kyron Williams. And San Francisco's weak in both areas. They allow 4.8 yards per carry on runs that don't go up the middle. And specifically, we look at the outside, the very outside end runs. Corum has gained 6.2 yards per carry on those types of runs in his career. And San Francisco this year allowing 5.9 yards per carry on those runs. And San Francisco has the 7th worst defensive success rate and the 10th most yards per carry allowed to zone concept runs, which, like I said, the Rams use more with Corum than they do with Kyron. And San Francisco has had trouble generating, rushing, pressure. Essentially, they're 10th worst in adjusted yards before contact allowed. So I think Corum can get some volume here and can get some efficiency.
And the number for Corum, though, it's 31.5. That's what we have for the rush yards, or 43.5. I'm just trying to look it up right now just with the parlay. But yeah, we got to take a vote here. So we're going to vote. Oh, right. Yeah, 43.5 is the total. 31.5 is the rushing yards. That's why I was getting confused there. Okay. All right. We got to take a vote. Sean, Grant, are we going to take over 43.5 for the game total or over 31.5 rushing yards for Blake Corum? So let's take a vote. All right, Grant, Sean, I went with the total. I took the over 43.5 for the full game. What did you guys take? Over 43. Sean with Blake Corum, of course. Of course, Corum over on the rush yards. Yes. All right. So that is the third leg of the parlay. So we're going to take the over in this game of 43.5. We're pairing that with Demarcus Robinson over on his longest reception, along with Kendrick Bourne over on his receiving yards. So I've got a couple props that I like for this game. But before we do round out the parlay, if you're on Twitter or X and you haven't used it yet, you should check out Playbook. If you see a bet from any of your favorite action experts or anyone on gambling Twitter, what you could do is if you tag Playbook under their posts, our AI bot will build you a bet slip at a sports book of your choice, and then you could tail that bet very easily. It's that simple. You don't have to try and find, what menu the bets are under or all the different parlay legs. Just use Playbook and build your bets the easy way. Well, this one was not easy for touchdowns. I'll say that. There was only one guy I betted immediately on Monday, and the odds have gone down as the week has gone, but I still like him to score a touchdown in this game, and that is Davante Adams. I'm going to probably, every week, I'm probably going to bet him as long as he is plus odds or plus 120 and above. So he's scored 3 of 4 games. He leads the NFL in end zone targets with 9. And even with Puka Nacua getting the lion's share of targets, it's not really translated to end zone targets. And Davante, he just has that touchdown pedigree. To me, it's just too much to ignore. So I think as long as we're getting anything around plus 120 or better for Davante Adams for an anytime touchdown, that's who we have to take. But on the 49ers side, I'm not going to take a touchdown. Instead, I'm going to take Brian Robinson, the running back, the second running back rather. And I'm going to take over on his rushing yards. It's around 19 and a half. So 20 plus rushing yards. He's gone over this in all 4 games. I'm also, even though I know that Christian McCaffrey is the focal point of this offense, I'm just not convinced that he is just going to get an 80% snap share every week, especially on a short week. I just don't think that's sustainable in this offense. And I think if anything, especially as the Rams, if they come out strong, you could see Christian McCaffrey's maybe workload decline as the game unfolds. So there's a potential trailing game script in the second half, which I think B-Rob will get more carries. And just looking as well at some upside on the rushing yards, I'm seeing right now 50 plus rushing yards, around 9-1 for Brian Robinson. Now, I'm not saying that that's the bet that we're going to make, but at the same time, 19 and a half, I think is very suitable for this parlay. So those are the 2 bets that I have for this game, gentlemen. I have either Davante Adams for an anytime touchdown or Brian Robinson Jr. over 19 and a half rushing yards. So gentlemen, let's take a vote. All right, guys, we got to cap off this same game parlay. We're going to put Davante touchdown or Brian Robinson Jr. over on his rush yards. What do we do? See, Adams, Davante. Oh, Nick went with the B-Rob. Okay, all right. Well, Nick, unfortunately, you did get outvoted, but I do want to ask you a question about B-Rob here in a second. But first, let's talk about this parlay. So we have Kendrick Bourne over on his receiving yards. It's around 34 and a half. Demarcus Robinson, longest reception, over 16 and a half yards. We're taking the over in the game, 43 and a half, and we're capping it off with Davante Adams for an anytime touchdown. And because it does have a longest reception prop, you do have to kind of pick and choose which sportsbook you're going to use it at. So right now at FanDuel, it's around plus 790. At Bet365, I'm seeing plus 775, right? So anything over, I think 750, that's kind of the realm of where we're looking at here. So that is going to be the parlay for Thursday Night Football. But Nick, I want to ask you a question before we get out of here. What do you got against Davante Adams?
I just like the B-Rob prop. I think he's going to get some volume. He's, if this game blows out, like I'm kind of following the blowout script with Corum here and B-Rob, and just get these backup RBs involved. So, what do I have against Davante Adams? Absolutely nothing, other than stealing all those Kyron Williams touchdowns.
Yes, of course. And that is something that we will never forgive him for. But for this one today, we do need him to score a touchdown so we can cash this parlay. And it's around, again, just under 8-1 at FanDuel, around plus 775 or at Bet365. So before we get out of here, I'll just say what the parlay is one more time. And reminder, all the quick slips to these bets, including the parlay, have been dropped in the YouTube chat. So you can grab those and get those directly at the sportsbook. So it is Kendrick Bourne over 34 and a half receiving yards. Demarcus Robinson, longest reception, over 16 and a half yards, over 43 and a half for the game. And Davante Adams for an anytime touchdown comes up to around 8-1, just under 8-1 at FanDuel. So That is all for us today. Thank you for watching Action Island for Thursday Night Football. We will be back here on the island on Monday. We're going to wrap up week 5 with Chiefs, Jaguars. We'll have another same game parlay for all the beach dwellers who love to join us here. So on behalf of Nick Giffen, Sean Koerner, Grant Neiffer, I'm Gilles Gallant. Aloha and bon chance.